Just moving on to Dana White, I know he's come out and said he'll recognise his new Zuffa belt and the Ring magazine belt. Just your thoughts on that statement?
Oh, I think that, I heard he said that I went all Oscar de la Hoya criticising him. I mean, not at all. I find it difficult to find an interview where I've ever criticised Dana White. I mean, I respect the guy. We've got a decent friendship. He's always been very good to me. And I'll always talk about the quality of his business and also the quality of him as a promoter. When he comes out and says things like, we're going to take over boxing, I'm going to be the CEO. Obviously, what do you expect me to do? Roll over like a puppy and let him tickle my belly? No, we're going to war. Because you're coming into my market, you're coming into my business, where I believe I'm number one, and you're telling me you're going to be number one. So it's a shootout, it's a fight. There'll be no nastiness. I'm not going to talk about it negatively or personally or everything like that. I'm up for the fight. I think it's going to be, people are talking about it and almost like the perception of this Eddie v Dana war in boxing. Great. I mean, that's great for the sport. The Zuffa belt, for me, is a belt that no boxer has any interest in at all.
Okay, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back. So Eddie Hearn has just responded to Dana White's recent comments when Dana White came out and said the rest of these boxing promoters, including Eddie Hearn, do not think big enough and they're not on his level. Dana White will be rolling out his TKO promotion next year, 2026. They've just signed a new deal with Paramount. They've got 12 shows on the go next year. They're going to be building their fight league. And Dana White says he's coming to take over boxing. Eddie Hearn seems to be optimistic about how TKO is going to do. He feels like he's a top dog in boxing right now, even though he's been washed by Frank Warren a couple of times when it comes to the 5-on-5 and I think a couple of individual fights. I can't remember. I think it was the Fabio Wardley and Justice Hooney fight. Where Hooney was winning the fight for winning the majority of the fight, and he got knocked out right near the end. So it's probably made it 6-0 to Frank Warren. But Eddie Hearn has a global promotional outfit where he puts on fights in Australia and the US of A and Mexico and United Kingdom. United Kingdom being his home, basically his home turf, right? So Dana White comes out and says basically boxing is broken. Max Kellerman and a few other of these guys are rim piecing Dana, kissing his ass, glazing, whatever you want to call it. Max Kellerman's got the knee pads on, the elite knee pads on now. And Dana White says boxing's so effed up, he's got to come and save it. I beg to differ personally. I would say there's issues in American boxing, but boxing on a whole worldwide is, I would say, in a good place right now, especially as Turki Al-Sheikh has come and added a boost to boxing and given us some of these undisputed fights. So Dana White and Eddie Hearn used to be quite, how can I say, they were very cordial with each other, right? Them two guys used to chat every now and again, and Eddie Hearn was always singing from Dana's hymn sheet and giving him praise and saying Dana White's done very well in the last 20, 25 years with the UFC, brought him from a very small outfit into a global superpower. But Eddie Hearn basically is up for the fight. He's ready to take on Dana White TKO, and he thinks their product the product is basically inferior to what Matchroom have been putting out there. So look, Dana White obviously been promoting for a long time in the UFC. He's taken a lot of ideas from boxing and brought them to the UFC and kind of modeled it into his own kind of ideas. And, he's got his own ideas to bring boxing forward. But Eddie Hearn says he's ready for this. And he feels that Dana White and his TKO do not have a superior product. And he feels that they will fall short, right? There's just a few things that I don't know if you guys actually know. That TKO obviously bringing their own belt to the table. You heard Eddie Hearn talking about the belt, saying it's a Mickey Mouse belt, and none of the fighters are going to want to fight for it because you have the legacy of the WBC, WBA, and IBF belts. The WBO being kind of new on the scene. I remember when how can I say, was it Nigel Benn and Chris Eubanks Sr. kind of made that belt popular. Later on, Steve Collins picked up that belt. And I believe, how can I say, maybe Joe Kawasaki, I think he might have picked up that belt as well at some point. I have to can't remember carefully, but Dana White and TKO, they want to start this new Zuffa League where their champion wins this Zuffa belt and then goes on to the Ring Magazine to win the Ring Magazine belt. And they are refusing to recognize any of the sanctioning bodies. So I've put a video out there and a few shorts out there recently, but I don't think you fans are kind of understanding what's going on at the moment, because Dana White has just added another belt to all the boxing divisions. Basically, we have the WBO, IBF, WBC, WBA. We have the IBO also, Ring Magazine belt, and now we got the Zuffa belt. That is 7 belts per division. People, listen, 7 belts per division. So Dana White hasn't actually come to save the sport of boxing. He's actually brought confusion to it. He doesn't want to recognize any of the sanctioning bodies. He just wants to fight under the Zuffa belt, and the winner of the Zuffa belt goes to the Ring Magazine. So basically, the Zuffa champions are kind of a Mickey Mouse champion. As you, Eddie, if you listen to the interview on Stomping Ground where Eddie Hearn came out and said, we've tried to do that before. We tried to make a Matchroom belt, but the fighters were not interested in it because all the legacy is held in the alphabet sanctioning body belts. You know, we had fighters like Muhammad Ali, we had fighters like Jack Dempsey, we had fighters like Jack Johnson, Joe Lewis. Come on, man, the list goes on. I don't need to go through all of them. Rocky Marciano, Larry Holmes, come on, Muhammad Ali. These guys all held either one or the other or 2 of these sanctioning body belts. And if you're a Zuffa champion, meaning, and they don't recognize any of the sanctioning bodies, you're going to become a Zuffa champion with none of the legacy of those historical belts. You know, what could happen is a similar thing as like the WBO. They could obviously keep rolling out this Zuffa belt and eventually it might gain a bit of credibility. But another thing Dana White's trying to do is he's also trying to change the dimensions of the ring. Just like in the UFC, they have the octagon. PFL have the smart ring. You know, BKFC, is it BKFC? No, one of those bare knuckle outfits. I think they're from the UK. They have a I don't know what to call it, man. Basically, it's a triangle ring, a trigon. I think it's called a trigon. Yeah. But if any of you guys haven't seen it, go and have a look at it. It's called a trigon. So we don't know exactly what Dana's trying to bring to this table or how he's going to set up the dimensions of this ring. But, I mean, there are people out here saying that if he does do this, change the dimensions of this ring, adds this Zuffa belt, is this really boxing or is it just another sport? I mean, I'll leave it up to you guys to work that out. But anyway, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, they're not taking this line down. And Eddie Hearn says he's ready to fight Dana White every step of the way. Because he's not going to roll over some kitty cat and let anyone rub his belly. He's out here to bring Matchroom, take Matchroom as far as they can go to the pinnacle of the sport. And if Dana White gets in his way, then so be it. Because these guys used to be kind of cordial friends, and slowly but surely, it's slightly drifting away, where Dana White has accused Eddie Hearn of some Oscar De La Hoya type tactics. And I never saw that, to say the truth. But Dana White obviously feels threatened by Eddie Hearn. He's trying to ruffle his feathers as well. Eddie seems calm. He's like, I'm cool, got no issues with it. You know, the belt's there, and the belts are there, the sanctioning body belts are there. My fighters are going to fight for that. And I just want Dana to bring it on. We'll see what happens. Eddie's optimistic about this whole Zuffa TKO league. And only time will tell. 12 shows next year. Let's see how it plays out. That's all I'm going to say. But do us a favor, smash the like button, hit that bell for notifications to get all the new latest videos.